Greetings again from the oral history microphone. My name is Ray Mofield, and we're visiting today in the home of Mr. and Mrs. Earl Lindsey. And that is, well, I guess we'll call it Possum Trot. It's not in the, Shelby used to say, in the heart of downtown Possum Trot, but we are in the edge of it. And you have a beautiful home here, Mr. Lindsey, and the yard is looking great, and we got sunshine, so you'll have a lot of mowing this year, I guess.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks for letting me come. It's always a pleasure for me to talk to people. You know, I've known you and of you about all of my lifetime, but I don't recall ever having sat down in your house before and talked to you.
No, sir. No.
Were you born in this area, Mr. Lindsey?
Well, close, yeah. A couple of 3 miles away.
About 3 miles away. Well, you haven't strayed very far then, have you?
Yeah, that's right.
You were born about when?
1900. September the 20th, 1900.
So that puts you up in your 80s?
Yeah.
And your father's name was? Scott Lindsey. Now, what was your mother before she married?
She was a Manning.
Manning. Mm-hmm. All right, and you were born in 1900.
Yeah.
Well, this is your, or will be your 87th year.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. That's very good.
I've lived from the ox cart to the walking on the moon.
Isn't it amazing the progress that men have made
It is.
in transportation and many other ways?
That's right.
Now, of course, there was electricity when I was born, but we didn't have it at our house till 1947. After World War II, they built a REA line that came by our home. Now, some people, of course, got it before the war started.
Yeah.
But we were on a little
That knocked us out. The war knocked us out.
Yeah.
It was 1948
Uh-huh.
when we got it.
Before it came through here. Well, that was the experience of an awful lot of rural people.
Oh, Lord.
I read the other day where during World War II, only 5% of American farms had electricity. And they were right around the edges of town, mostly, where they could run private. And we finally got REA, and that's made all the difference in the world, hasn't it?
That's right. That's right.
I told someone once that when you didn't have electricity on the farm, you lived about like Daniel Boone did.
That's right. That's true.
Not very much difference. Well, your dad and mom, how big was your family? You have any brothers and sisters?
Yeah. I had 2 sisters and a brother.
Mm-hmm.
And my father died when we were small.
Yes.
So my mother married again.
So you grew up with a stepfather?
Yeah. John R. Mango. You can go to him at it.
Yes, sir, I have.
Yes, sir.
In fact, there were some Angles that married into my wife's family.
Well, that's
Blumenberg.
It was my stepfather's brother.
Uh-huh.
Married Aunt Coy Angle.
All right. Now, that's where I have heard that name so much.
Yeah.
My wife's aunt.
Yeah.
Own aunt. Now, before we get too far away, do you remember any of the grandparents of yours on either your mother's or your dad's side?
I know my grandparents on my daddy's side, but not my mother's.
No, not on your mother.
No.
What was your grandfather's name?
Rice.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I don't know exactly what kind of name Lindsey is. It's probably English or Scotch-Irish or...
Irish.
Irish, okay. Usually they call them Scotch-Irish, but they weren't really Scots. They came from Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
But they weren't from the old Republic of Ireland, many of those people. All right, what did your dad do? Was he a farmer?
Yeah, he's a farmer.
Farm for a living. Nearly
Yeah.
all of our people in
Back
Marshall County did then.
yeah.
There wasn't much else to do unless you
No.
ran a store or something.
That's right. That's right.
Maybe worked on the railroad.
Yeah.
And since you were born pretty close to here, you must have gone to a one-room country school somewhere.
Barnes Chapel, Howard Grove.
You changed schools during your career.
Once.
Now, Vaughn's Chapel.
Yeah.
I noticed a sign as I drove through Possum Trot that said Vaughn's Chapel, I believe Cumberland Presbyterian Church.
Yes,
Is
sir.
that in the same neighborhood?
Yeah.
The school?
Just I'd say a quarter of a mile from the school.
Some, or a great deal of our schools, there were little churches and little schools side by side. I know where my wife went was Oak Valley.
Yeah.
And there was Oak Valley Church of Christ and Oak Valley grade school.
And I've lived here on this place since 1913.
Was this your dad's farm?
Yeah,
or your stepfather's place?
Yeah.
So
I bought it from
you
him.
bought it from the heirs.
Yeah.
Well, you kept right on living there. Well, that's the way with my farm. My mother and dad finally bought that after sharecropping for a number of years. We bought it from Mr. Dave Booker, and then I kept it.
He bought another place. When I married, he bought another place and moved on it, and I moved, come here, and been living here ever since.
Well, that's a good long while,
Yeah.
isn't it? I'm
67 years this coming August.
Now, do you mean to tell me you and your wife have been married that long?
Yes, sir. 67 years.
She's smiling.
we got we got two boys. Both of them retired.
Both of your sons are retired.
Both of them retired.
Well, that sounds reasonable enough. They're old enough to retire, aren't they? All right, tell us a little bit more about Vaughn's Chapel. Did you go there first?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
You remember who your first teacher was?
Yes, sir. D.D. Ross.
Mm-hmm.
You heard of him?
Yes.
Fine man.
Well, that's good. What did you like most in school? You like to spell or you like arithmetic?
Arithmetic.
A lot of the people, they went one way or the other. And I always liked spelling. I never liked arithmetic much.
I like
Reading and geography and history, I was always fond of that kind of thing. Tell us what a school day was like in those early days.
Well, it was about anywhere from 80 to 100 students.
Yes. That was a big school.
It went from primer to algebra.
Mm-hmm. On up through, that'd be the 8th grade. We call
that 8th grade, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But back in them days, they studied algebra.
Yes, sir.
And
I remember my dad saying they just had, when he started, of course, he was born in 1891, and they used McGuffey's readers, and they went through the 6 reader, because I know the census man was around asking, how much education you had, and he said, well, I just went through the 6 reader. And the census taker said, well, that's what we call the 8th grade now.
Yeah. And we studied what they call the mental arithmetic. Did you ever hear of the mental arithmetic?
I've heard of it, yes, and it was pretty hard, wasn't it?
Boy. You had to get on your toes.
Right.
You had that problem all recited in class.
Mm-hmm. And everybody heard you.
Yes, sir.
I remember, I don't know how the teacher handled all that many students, although I graduated from a one-room country school, the 8th grade, and they'd start out and they'd say, 1st grade spelling passed to the front. And they had a recitation bench up
Oh,
there,
yeah.
the blackboard, and it is elevated just a little bit, maybe 6 or 8 inches high, or possibly a foot, I don't remember. Kind of a stage-like.
Uh-huh.
And if you got too mean, well, you'd have to stand with your nose in the ring, or...
Yeah. I know all about it.
Yeah. Okay.
I remember one time there was a boy kind of unruly, and the teacher called him down. It was up in class.
Yes, sir.
And had 2 benches. Went out this way, kind of like in that shape.
Mm-hmm.
And some was on this bench, some was on that bench.
Yes, sir.
And she called him down, and he didn't respond.
No.
And she told one of the boys to hand her that hickory. He wouldn't do
She
it.
had a switch.
Yeah.
All right.
And a girl pushed this boy. The teacher told her the hickory. She pushed him off the bench. He fell on the floor.
Oh.
And they went together. The teacher and this boy was over. Was unruly. They went together. They went right down on the floor.
Oh, me.
There's a woman too.
Yeah.
Woman teacher.
But sometimes they could give you a pretty good whipping.
Well, she's much of a man. Her name was. Well, I'll tell you her name.
Yes.
Minnie Campbell Harper.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of her.
I have. I've heard of that. It
She
reminds
was a
me.
good teacher too.
Reminds me of a story about a woman teacher they had at Hardin one time named Bonnie Ratliff. It was Van Ratliff's sister, and I've known Van for many years. In fact, he died here in the Calvert Convalescent Center, I guess it was. But his sister wanted that job teaching, and Mr. Dave Booker said, I don't want you to take it. These boys have run off the last 4 teachers.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty tough.
Yeah.
Well, she said, I want the job. She was a pretty hefty built lady. And he said, well, I'm going to call your dad first. So he called Uncle Dick Ratliff. He lived over at Olive. And Uncle Dick said, well, she's got a mind of her own. If she wants it, let her have it. So some boys acted up, and she got them down. And one of them said later she put her knee across his throat while she whipped the other and said, like choke me to death. And, so they had some women who were not clinging vines.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think I got about 1,000 whippings the first year I went to school to Carrie Redden. She was a slender young lady, but she knew how to wield a paddle and a little king switch.
They did back in them days.
Yeah. That must have been part of their practice or something. All right. Well, any more teachers that you can recall that you had? Maybe one over at Howard's Grove.
Alice Flowers.
Mm-hmm.
You've heard of her?
I've heard that name. Now, Howard's Grove, let's see. There's a woman named Elizabeth Howard who married Albert Harrell.
Well,
And that's
a
not
lot
too-
across over here.
That's just across field from you,
Yeah.
more or less, isn't it?
Yeah, and our neighbors, good neighbors too.
And I believe that she was kin to the Howards for whom that school was named.
Yeah, it used to be on their land.
Mm-hmm.
You see, they moved it a little ways
Yes, sir.
near the center of the district.
Mm-hmm.
That I went to, I never did go to the old Howard Grove.
Yeah.
But I did the new Howard
The
Grove.
new Howards.
Yeah. I went to Alice Flowers.
Mm-hmm. Well,
She was a good teacher.
what kind of games did you play? Do you remember?
Cat ball, town ball.
Mm-hmm. And did you ever play Pop the Whip?
No.
Never did play that. Well,
Shinny.
Yeah, I remember Shinny. You kicked a can.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Oh, and sometimes they'd skip rope and
Yeah,
do things like that. On Fridays, we sometimes had spelling bees.
yeah.
And
We had spelling matches, sir. All right.
occasionally, maybe a night program to raise a little money during the year. They'd have pie supper.
Yeah.
Did your wife ever make a pie and take to a pie supper?
I don't know.
She's nodding her head yes.
Well, I didn't want to interfere with
Yeah,
that.
you come right on and just
Oh.
speak right up. If you,
Yeah, we had pie suppers.
well,
And
good.
the girls, you see, fixed the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
And the boys bought these boxes. We'd take shoe boxes and we'd cover them with crepe paper, gather it and ruffle it and fix them pretty.
Oh, yeah.
And the boys would buy the boxes and when we'd eat together.
Talk a lot of us.
Yeah, that's good. I remember going to a pie supper one time and I had 45 cents. That's all the money I had. Well, some of the other fellas started running it up on me. They knew I wanted that girl's pie.
Yeah.
And some fella bid 40 cents. Well, most of the pies were, none of them had brought over a quarter except mine. And this guy started to bid again, and he just doing it for fun. And of course, raised a little more money for the school. And his wife punched him in the rib and said, "Well, don't run that up on that boy anymore." Said, "I bet that's about all the money he's got." Well, I bid the 45, and if any more had come, I'd have had to hung up my sign because that was it.
Yeah.
Well, I got the pie. Didn't have a penny left.
Yeah.
Yeah, those days brought a lot of fun and so on. Well, you worked on the farm, I guess.
Yeah.
The school terms were they about 7 months long?
About 7 months.
That's what they were when I was going. And I remember how much I dreaded starting to high school because they had 9 months.
9 months.
Oh, I thought that'd be a killer. We've just been used to going 7. There's more time to play.
That's right.
Or really to work on the farm. What kind of crops did you grow?
Tobacco.
So you had to worm it and sucker it?
Yeah.
Salt it?
Strawberries, corn, hay.
Yeah, there used to be a big strawberry market in this area.
Oh, yeah. Strawberries brought us all the kings. Brought me.
Well, it did.
Most everybody.
I suppose without strawberries I could never have gone to college. I went on a shoestring. I helped my dad on the farm, and we milked a few cows, worked the tobacco crops and the berries, and I stayed at home and went back and forth to Murray from Hardin every day. Hitchhiked part of the time. Finally got me an old Model A that I paid $95 for. And took my lunch in the paper bag. And tuition was only $25 a semester.
It was.
Yeah. So I made it through. But if it hadn't been for a real good strawberry crop about 1941, I'd never made it.
I grew 30 crops of strawberries.
Mm-hmm. Well, one year my dad had $14 worth of tobacco, and that is his only cash crop that year. Well, we started growing berries, and in 41 we cleared 300. So we thought we were the richest people in the United States.
Yes, sir.
Right up with the Rockefellers.
That's right, that's right. I only made one failure, it was strawberries.
Where did you sell? At Calvert, or took them to Paducah?
Paducah.
Yeah, Barger and Golightly.
Yeah, Barger and Golightly.
I remember A Dixie aroma. with the family.
Yeah, that's the first kind of beers we raised, aroma. And then we went to the Beauties.
Uh-huh, yeah. Some of them grew Blakemore,
Yeah.
a little earlier
Well,
berries.
I never did go with 2 or 3 cups of Blakemore. They didn't produce like the aroma.
Yeah. Now, you never did run off to Detroit.
Yeah, yeah.
Did? Okay.
I went to Detroit in 1928.
Worked there till the Depression knocked you out of a job.
Yes, sir.
Then you came back.
I come
Well,
back.
now, where did you meet this beautiful lady over here?
Well, I guess it's parties.
Is she from around here?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's just a couple of miles back where she lived.
Mm-hmm. So you thought you met her at a party. Was that a play party?
I guess it
Square
was.
dance
Yeah.
or something like
Yeah.
that?
You know, we used to have play parties,
Yeah.
and then every Saturday night.
Mm-hmm. And you
Well,
saw?
I didn't go to very many of those.
But you went to one too many?
I imagine.
Oh, that's great. Been married 67 years.
Yes,
Well, you didn't go for the quick divorce then, did you?
no.
We have our great-grandson fixing to marry next month.
Uh-huh.
And we have great hopes we might live to be great-grandparents.
Did I ask you who you were before you married?
McFarland.
McFarland. Yeah. Okay.
John McFarland was my father.
And your mother was
Jenny Faith McFarland.
Jenny Faith.
She was a Faith.
Well, now, there have been some Faiths that played basketball at North Marshall that I used to announce ball games when they played.
Well,
So there's still Faiths in Marshall County.
Yeah.
there's very few McFarlands.
Okay. All right. We got you started, and you moved here after you married.
Yeah.
And then was that before you went to Detroit or after?
That was before I went to Detroit.
So your wife went with you to Detroit.
Yeah.
Well, he first went and got work, and then I went later.
Oh yeah.
I went on the train. And when we got to Detroit, another lady was with me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they were supposed to meet us at the depot. Well, they wasn't there. We couldn't find them, couldn't see them nowhere.
That scared you, didn't
Oh, we're scared to death. And so I told the other lady, I said, you stay here with the children and I'll go see if I can find them. And I did, and I caught them as they were going out the door, or leaving, going home. And I had to run to catch them. If it hadn't been for that, we'd have been stranded there in that depot, you know. They had met the wrong train. And they didn't think we had caught that train, and that we would be on the next one. They was going to come back and meet the next train.
A narrow escape.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So then the Depression came along. You worked where?
Bud Wheels.
Bud Wheel. My wife had an uncle, Ed
Yeah.
Blumenberg, who was
Yeah.
103 years old, and he worked there till he retired.
Yeah, and the store worked there.
Yes, Emmett Story married another one of those Blumenberg girls.
Emmy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They were our neighbors for years and years.
Mhm.
And Walter Blumenberg was one of my school teachers.
Yes, I've heard several say that he taught school where they went. I believe.
Plainview.
He died fairly young,
Yes,
about
he did.
43 or something
Yes.
like that.
Well, I know all them boys.
Mm-hmm.
And I was asking about Ed here a while back, and he's still living.
Oh, he's going strong. We had a letter from them, I believe it was yesterday, saying they'd be here at least by the third Saturday in August. There's a homecoming at Oak Valley.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That was their church.
Uh-huh. Yeah, they like to go there.
Yeah.
And Oak Valley School. And Many of them, of course, went to that Oak Valley Church of Christ also.
Yeah,
But he graduated from Oak Valley School
yeah.
many, many years ago, of course, because he was born in, well, I'd have to stop and figure it up. But anyway, I believe he's 103 now.
Yeah, I knew he was over 100.
Well, let's find out if you had any children.
Yeah, I got 2 boys.
2 boys. You mentioned that a moment ago. Now, grandchildren.
We had 4 grand boys.
Mm-hmm. Do any of them live close to you?
One of them lives in Hopkinsville, one
Princeton.
in Princeton,
Well, that's not too far.
one in Texas.
That's a little hard to visit them,
Yeah.
Texas. isn't it?
And
Yeah.
we lost one.
We lost one.
Well, that's too bad.
So his son's 4 years old.
Mhm.
He was driving, and a dog ran out in front of him, and he tried to miss it,
Mhm.
and he lost control of his car.
Oh.
Just tore him off pieces.
Now, I see some pretty
Yeah.
children on top of that TV over there.
That was great.
The great-grandchildren.
Yeah.
Oh,
We only have one girl in our family. We have a step
Mhm.
great granddaughter.
Mhm.
We love her very much.
Yes, sir.
But that's the only
Oh,
girl
they're pretty children over there.
in
aren't they?
our family.
Mhm.
Is that one girl?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I see 7 lined up over there.
Yeah.
Well, that's great. Well, now, we've fooled around here and we've used up a good part of the time. We just got about 3 minutes left. Now, can you think of any funny stories?
No.
Or maybe your life's most embarrassing moment, or a joke that you played on somebody or something?
No,
Or somebody played on you, maybe?
I just can't think.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes people have some of those unusual
Yeah.
stories they like to put on. What about your most embarrassing moment, Ms. Lindsey?
Well,
Was it when you thought they'd left you in Detroit?
yeah, I suppose so. That was real embarrassing and scary and everything like that. But
Yeah.
that come out okay. And we lived there about 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And that's the only rest I ever had, a real rest in my life. I just kept house and took care of the 2 boys.
And you didn't have to work in the strawberry patch.
No, and tobacco, and gardens, and yards.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So,
There's always something to do on a farm.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
And to me, I guess setting tobacco was about the hardest job. Some people say strawberry picking, but I don't know. I could scoot along.
Well, I don't know who it was taught me how to set tobacco. When you set a raise straight up between every plant, don't just get down and just set right on that way. You'll give out your back. Just stand erect between every plant, and you can hold out the set a whole lot better.
Well, you know what I did? I did just the opposite. Just bent over, and I never looked up from one end of the row to the other, and it nearly killed me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But if you'd stick straight,
Finally, we bought a tobacco sign.
Mm-hmm. And they could drive the horses along with that, I suppose, in those
Tractor.
tractor.
Yeah.
And then 2 people sat, and you sat 2 rows at a time.
Yeah.
yeah, that was a great invention in our farming.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I see our time is just about gone. I appreciate very much your letting me
I
come.
appreciate meeting you, too.
We've had, from my point of view, a very pleasant
Yes,
meeting.
it's really enjoyed. I really enjoyed talking to you.
We've been visiting today on our oral history report with Mr. and Mrs. Earl Lindsey of near Possum Trot. I'm Ray Mofield, And we return you now to our studio in Benton.